So please give a warm round of applause for all our panelists.
All right. So hello, Anthony Bertolino, head of ecosystem at DB Labs. I think this is one of the coolest panels today. I'm pretty biased, but I actually think home staking is very, very sexy, and it's cooler than a lot of the institutional stuff, although that is important as well. Let's get some round of intros.
Hey, my name is Lanski. I'm the CEO of Dappnode. We make free open source software that basically wraps the whole node operating experience into something that's really easy for everyone to just point and click and deploy a node in your own hardware. In this mission of making node operations and infrastructure easy for everybody, we also sell pre-installed machines that come pre-installed with our free open source software, and that's like probably the easiest way for anyone to get started being a solo staker.
Hello, I am GLC from StakeCat. StakeCat are a node operator. We run DVT and ABS on EigenLayer. All our team members are solo stakers and cat enthusiasts. We love cats at StakeCat.
Meow.
Hey everyone, I'm Izzy. I contribute to Lido DAO as Master of Validators and also a solo staker. If you're wondering why you see Lanski and I on panels together all the time, it's because we have the same agent. So if you're interested, please just email ethereumstars.eth.
Nice. So, many people say that solo stakers are the heartbeat of Ethereum, right? And if it wasn't for home stakers, I mean, how much value really is there to our beautiful blockchain, right? And now when thinking about the user journey of a home staker, that obviously starts with education. And I know all of you have kind of your hands in education, to some degree or another. With Dappnode, it's actually making it so education, while still important, is less needed, revolutionizing the UX. StakeCat, you guys originally self-taught, but now actually contributing research and education. And then Lido, your early phase of the go-to-market was with institutions, but now rolling out CSM, investing in those home stakers, and part of that being education. I'd like to hear from you all, but Lanski, what is the Ethereum community doing right when it comes to staking education, and what needs to be improved? And throw in maybe what Dappnode's doing if you'd like.
Okay, really good question. So, as you say, I agree, like the journey starts by even knowing that what a blockchain is and why is it important that you run it or that you run it. And it's crucial because as you say, Dappnode tries to make it extremely easy, so you need less documentation, less technical documentation on how to do it, because it's just plug and play. You get a nice UI, deploy your execution client, your consensus client. But I think something that's extremely, extremely important as well is to educate people on why should they? Why should they even start a validator themselves? And that's where my passion goes as well. If we make it so we can transmit to anyone the importance of geographical decentralization and of ownership and self-sovereignty, I think that's probably where I would like to see a lot more focus. What we are doing right, on the other hand, is there's just so many resources, so many technical resources. Like, really nobody has any excuses to not run a validator. You have so much documentation, so much technical documentation, so many projects like Dappnode that make it extremely simple for you to be a home staker. And I think that's what we're doing awesome.
Yeah, so it feels like the technical education is handled, but maybe we need to step up more on the philosophical, or make sure that stays rooted in kind of the communities, sharing that and getting everyone to understand why we're here. Let's hear it.
Yeah, the state of education on Ethereum, in my opinion, is top notch. It's really good. Like how mature the ecosystem is, but there's a lot of tooling. Dappnode for one, it's great product. I've used it myself. Countless, Nethermind, Sedge, ETH Docker, Styrium, another one. I could list off all day almost. no other ecosystems like this. Ethereum sticks out, in my opinion. Not just that, but this ethos of maintaining kind of home operators, prioritizing home operators and making sure the network is capable of or open to home staking.
Awesome, Izzy. Anything you want to drop?
Yeah, so I don't know if the state of like education in terms of home staking on Ethereum is awesome. I think there's a lot of like really concerted efforts, especially from the community and like volunteer-based organizations, to create accessible guides, to create like different ways of interacting with different protocols. But the level of education is kind of missing like a couple of different things. One, I think, is cohesiveness. Two, historically, it's kind of targeted areas or regions of the world that have like privileged access, let's say, to things like the internet, hardware, like even access to the blockchain. So if you look at like how many users there are of blockchains around the world and where most nodes are run, even though blockchain itself has the ability to really kind of uproot communities that need more self-sovereignty from a financial perspective. Most nodes are run like in the US and Germany and Europe and things like that, right? So the area that and a lot of the guides are like English first and stuff like that. So what we really need to kick into high gear is reaching these kind of like underserved and undersaturated communities, not only because it's vitally important for the economic future of these places, but the network as a whole, especially in terms of like increasing geographic distribution of nodes and things like that, also from a jurisdictional perspective, but also helping convey this message that Paul was talking about, which is the self-sovereignty of the financial future of tomorrow. So home stakers are an integral part of like any blockchain system, but especially Ethereum, because what we want is as many of them as possible to serve as like the stakers of last resort, right? The difficulties there are that there are some inherent challenges around the staking mechanism, and especially around the financial incentives of the base staking mechanism that make it a little bit difficult, and that Ethereum is technically a little bit more complex than most other networks due to the amount of software that you need to run concurrently and like the optimized setups, but also in terms of like capital requirements. And so there's an educational effort that needs to happen, but there's also things that can be done, whether it's by teams that are building products like Dappnode, by teams like StakeCat that are helping like purely on the educational effort or showing how somebody can go from a self-taught solo staker to a staking organization, moving into like the professional space, but also from a protocol perspective on top of Ethereum, which is how do you enfranchise more people to become solo stakers, and maybe they start as a solo staker on Lido, eventually via CSM, which is now on testnet, and then become actual solo stakers with like a full 32 ETH validator.
Awesome. So let's say someone has been taught the philosophical reasons why it's important to stake from home. They have the technical education and they want to get started. Many people around the world still face substantial barriers, right? Technical barriers, other economic barriers, etc. How do we continue to lower those barriers of entry? Obviously, certain staking protocols are lowering the ETH requirement, right? No longer it's not just 32 ETH for a solo validator, you have options, which we'll get into. What are some of those barriers that exist for those who may not know? And how, as a community, can we continue to lower the barrier to entry from staking from home? Anyone, feel free to hop in.
Maybe I can start with this one. So, like you mentioned, the most acute barrier is obviously like the 32 ETH requirement to run a validator. So the way that staking protocols can deal with this is by essentially lowering their amount of bond that is necessary for somebody to run a validator, and then getting delegated stake from the rest of the stakers of the community to fulfill the missing requirement. Another way to do that is obviously through DVT. So if you're co-running a validator together with a group of people, you're reducing the operational risk inherent to this validator, and you're also reducing the ability for somebody to like do something bad to the validator, and then therefore like the economic risk of the validator, so you can reduce the bond even further. And the other thing that's really, really important is not only like access to educational information, but ease of optionality and let's say accessibility in terms of how you can get set up to run a solo staking validator or a validator as an independent staker as a part of our protocol. So one of the things that the CSM team did in Lido is that they're working with a lot of different third-party integration partners to ensure that there are multiple different avenues to be able to run a solo validator, whether it's via Dappnode or Sedge or Ethereum, or like DIY at home through guides or via ETH Docker, to make sure that we reach as many people as possible in as easy of a way as possible that's catered to the way that they want to run their validator, and without requiring specific software.
Anyone else? Barriers to entry?
I think Izzy has mentioned most of it. Mostly the barrier is economic here, but also almost at the ground level as well. Like it does take, I'm not talking about the 32 ETH, which is obvious, yes, you need 32 ETH to run a validator. But also like you need to, you need a certain sort of base investment that you need to do, and then you need to have this machine at home, and let's say that the least amount of capital that you're willing to put on the hardware, the highest is the risk that you're not going to be, so the least likely you are to be able to run a protocol that lowers these barriers for you. Let me explain. So if you have really good hardware, really expensive hardware, and here like we're not talking about the quantities between 2 ETH and 32 ETH, this is a gigantic jump. What I'm talking about is like only one order of magnitude, which is from 2,000 euros to 200 euros to 2,000 euros, for example, if you have a Raspberry Pi. So if you have a Raspberry Pi, the only way that you're going to be able to participate in a protocol by this protocol lending you or giving you access to the 32 ETH is by using something that ensures that your Raspberry Pi will not crash and burn. And if that it does, you are covered, or the validator is covered. So the person that's providing you with the capital, or providing you with the pub key, will not lose money, and whatever protocol is providing you with the capital will not lose money. So I think there's also a huge coordination effort, because the lower the barrier of entry in terms of hardware there is, the higher the coordination cost. The only way that you can do it is through DBT. Because then you spread the load into several nodes. And if your Raspberry Pi crashes and burns, then you can do it. But if you have a really good machine, you're still likely to crash and burn and to have like offline time and all of this, but it's less likely, you have less hardware risk. And then is when you can start looking into things like Lido CSM, like Rocket Pool, like operating a state-wise vault, or on your own without the help of DBT. But then the investment is higher.
Awesome. GLC, do you have anything you want to add there? That crash and burn got me a little scared, man. Crash and burn.
Yeah. I think everything else, other barriers, hardware, education, there's always room for improvement. I think it's pretty good comparatively. Things like hardware. I find cost of hardware, especially consumer hardware, it's coming down over time. Obviously the glaring issue is the financial cost to entry. That's obviously why we're so excited about DBT, bringing that bond down. I would say it's not just home stakers or solo stakers. The main thing is independent node operators, that is people running their own nodes, whether at home, but they're in full control of it, not part of an entity, or really with their self-funded own stake. I mean, it's going to be represented more and more by DBT stakers, especially going forward.
Awesome.
Maybe, sorry to interrupt, I don't remember if this is addressed in any of the other questions we have planned. But like one of the interesting things about solo staking, or especially running a small amount of validators, is not necessarily the barrier to entry, but like the complexities of keeping the node running, or the financial kind of like consequences of what it means to be a solo staker with a few amount of validators compared to like entities that can run more validators. So what I'm talking about is basically consistency and sizing of rewards. So if you're a solo staker that's only running one validator, the likelihood of you getting a block proposal is like it might not even happen within a year. It probably should, according to the laws of probability, but you wouldn't be the first person on Reddit that is crying that it hasn't happened. So you not only have this volatility of a very infrequent event that would constitute a very large share of your rewards, but the operational and financial cost of something going wrong, like a small blip during that one event that you don't have previous events to test against, is a lot higher. So if you don't have a lot of block proposals, like 10 every week, like some Lido node operators do, and you have some misconfiguration in your block proposals, you're not going to know until you miss that one block proposal a year. And that is much more costly in terms of the total amount that you've invested and the financial, let's say, sustainability of you running a validator than it might be for a larger operator. So the things that staking protocols or like staking augmentation strategies, I guess, and I'm kind of parlaying here for Lanski to talk about the smoothing pool, is that it offers node operators a way to get together and basically like ameliorate some of these difficulties that are inherent to the base vanilla staking mechanism in Ethereum, and improve not only like quality of life, but also the overall like value that independent node operators get out of staking, but also like them being able to give back to the network more consistently in the future. So if your rewards are more consistent over smaller amounts of capital in the beginning, you can then reinvest that capital more easily in the future and grow your participation in the network. And that's why I think decentralized participation through tools like CSM, Rocket Pool, Stakewise is good because it can exponentially grow the independent node operator base in Ethereum in a longer time frame.
I don't even know why I bother showing up. You can do my pitch perfectly.
And so for those who don't know, there's various tools out there to smooth out rewards. Rocket Pool, who sort of first innovated on that.
Yeah, so Rocket Pool published a paper. It was Ken Smith, I think, with somebody else, doing an analysis of what would it take to smooth rewards over the entire Rocket Pool ecosystem. And we took this and we realized that the same thing would apply to solo stakers, right? Then we started building. So for those of you who need a little bit of a refresher of what a smoothing pool is a place where all of solo stakers or all of the stakers just pool their execution rewards in there, and then it gets split evenly among all the pool participants. And because of the power law distribution of how MEV gets distributed across blocks, this is actually something that turns out to be extremely beneficial for 99% of the people that are in the pool, except that one person that would have a lottery block, but is contributing to the pool with this huge amount of ETH instead. Now, there's no way for this person that they're to know in advance that they're going to be the person that gets the lottery block. So overall, it is always a good strategy to participate in the smoothing pool, because what is most likely is that you'll be the person that will be around the median when it comes to block proposals. And what this does is it pushes the reward towards the average, which is a lot higher because it's skewed by these big blocks. So yes, there's smooth.dappnode.io. It's the one that we have created, and at the same time there was another project that's called Smoothly that also have created another smoothing pool. It's a little bit, they have taken a little bit of a different approach, but the idea is the same. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Demo will hit me on the head if I don't mention this, but in CSM, both EL rewards and CL rewards are smoothed across operators. And there's also a performance algorithm that basically, if your node is offline because lightning hit your solar panel in Kenya, if it comes back up within a couple of days, you will also still get rewards. So it's a more forgiving way for independent operators to participate in staking.
Is it smooth across the entire Lido ecosystem or just the CSM?
Currently, it's smooth across the entire Lido module set, basically.
So basically, you have how many validators that you get your reward smooth with?
Around another 300,000, yeah.
Lucky that you start getting smoothing effects over 200 validators in the pool.
All right. I feel like you guys could just go all day. So I wanted to hear a little bit about long-term viability of home stakers. We recently did a staking survey with EthStaker, and more than 50% of the respondents said that they did not feel that core devs and or those who were helping to move Ethereum forward are not considering them in their best interests of solo stakers, and or that they're worried about large special interest groups who may control large percentages of the stake may not have their best interests in mind. We also are now compounding that with the stake rate theoretically trending to 100% eventually, and we're opening discussions around monetary policy change again, for better or worse. Tell me about any of this. How are you feeling about the long-term viability of stakers? Do you feel that their feelings are unfounded, or do you feel that this might be a reality?
I don't know. Honestly, it's hard not to lose credibility once a private company can just bribe you with millions in order to be an advisor. It's hard to believe that this person can maintain absolute neutrality. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, we all know that most of the people that are working in the Ethereum Foundation, they are extremely solid people, and they would never pull a fast one on us. But that their decisions or the way that their research goes into is like, so where attention goes, energy flows. And instead of exploring certain things that might be very, very beneficial for solo stakers, they might be looking into things that are very, very beneficial for other people, which doesn't mean that this is gonna negatively impact solo stakers by default, of course not. But it means that the energy will be put somewhere else. So I think part of the frustration comes from this point. It's not necessarily betrayal, it's just that they might feel less represented than what they would like to. The second point that I would like to comment on is the issuance and reducing issuance. And this is an extremely complex situation, because at the current rate of issuance, and especially how the ecosystem is right now, we're moving towards a place where concentration is sort of inevitable. And once this concentration happens, you're turning certain actors extremely powerful in the decision making of the protocol. And it might be extremely hard to do any change about this once we have 80% of the stake staked. All of the people, all of the companies, all of the institutions that are part or that hold part of this 80% of ETH staked, they will have incredible power, a lot much higher power than what they have now. And this is one of the reasons why I think we should do something about this. We should do something about the economics of staking, but any change, especially any reduction, any mindless reduction of the issuance that does not go accompanied with certain other precautionary measures does definitely and disproportionately impact solo stakers, who might have a break-even point that's a lot longer to achieve than institutionals. And institutions, as long as their rate is positive, they will just continue staking, because it's something, an asset that yields 0.001% is better than an asset that yields 0%. So if you want to hold ETH, why wouldn't you hold this ETH staked? So reducing this issuance will impact solo stakers, but these institutions won't be so much affected. So something needs to be done, but reducing issuance alone is not necessarily the answer. It needs to go accompanied with other measures.
Anyone want to hop in here? Well said.
Yeah. Long-term viability of solo stakers. Regards to that ETH staker report, it was great, well worth a read. I think off the head it was about 62% responded they have no immediate plans to exit.
80%. Yeah. I think it was closer to 80.
Asked questions like motivations for solo staking. Found it was primarily ideological, things like wanting to support the network. At StakeCat, we maintain our own list identifying solo staker addresses. So we encourage incentives to solo stakers, which is something we're starting to see, starting to happen. And we wrote our own report, aptly titled "Solo Stakers Aren't Going Away," and there was about 80% of validators that we identified as solo staker validators, 80% of pre-Genesis validators still staking, haven't exited. 75% of pre-merge validators still staking, haven't exited. That's today, and I think that paints a pretty positive picture. Going forward, I think, obviously, I see DVT as being more representative of these independent node operators on the network. But I think as long as Ethereum maintains this like ethos of decentralization and really holding independent node operators in high regard, there's always going to be some small cohort of participants that prefer to run their own infrastructure, whether that's at home, as long as they're in control of it. I'll be one of them. So will the rest of StakeCat.
Shout out to all the irrational actors. Let's go.
So I'm actually wondering if you know the numbers on this, because you wrote a roller report and I don't. What is like the growth in the number of solo stakers, let's say, post-merge? Do you know? Like, I was under the impression from the Staker survey that almost like most are pre-Genesis, and then there's like a large cohort post-merge, and then in the last 12 months or so, it's been kind of a big dry spell.
At the very start, sort of pre-Genesis, that phase, it looks like it was the highest share of the network of solo stakers. I think the reasons for that is simply it's these early enthusiasts who are the first to jump in, and the institutions maybe take their time a bit more.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mean solo stakers as a percentage of total stake. I mean in absolute like numbers of solo stakers. Like, what is the growth trajectory? So to your point, like I think the financial sustainability of existing stakers is vitally important, but the other thing that's very, very important is how do we make it appealing for new people to join as independent operators? So it's easier for it to make sense if you're a pre-Genesis operator when ETH was like, I don't know, $400 at that point, right? Versus $3,000 that it is right now. And it's easier when the APR for Ethereum was like at 7.5%. And there was like fat MEV blocks, although like a lot of that now is moving to L2s and the APR is going down. And it was a lot easier when also like you were a much larger percentage of the network. So in terms of the dilutive effects of staking on the overall like holder cohort and staker cohort, solo stakers and independent operators were the larger recipients of the issuance than they are now. So the core problem that I think that like Ethereum is currently facing is that we are not onboarding enough new independent operators into the system. And for me, like Lido CSM is not there to replace people that are running vanilla solo staking nodes. You should absolutely keep running vanilla solo staking nodes, and what you should do is use CSM to make enough money so that you can run more of them. If you have some ETH left over, that's like not 32 ETH increments, then put it in CSM, put it in Rocket Pool, put it in like Stakewise, grow the number of independent nodes that you can run on your own, and then make your own financial decisions around what is the best way to get return on your capital. But the thing that we really need to fix from a staking mechanism perspective, and this goes back to the issuance question, is how do you add more independent node operators in a longer time frame? And I think this is where the conflation of stake rate and issuance also does like a big disservice, not only to the community, but also to the potential staking operator pool. Because if you're reducing the prospective rewards of new entrants compared to the existing entrants, you actually increase the barriers to entry. So all the work that various protocols or applications may be doing to make the lives of independent node operators easier or to reduce barriers to entry, we might be offsetting with bad monetary policy.
Awesome. Yeah, let's dig in there a little bit. Even on the shorter midterm, what do you guys think are some opportunities for home stakers right now to be net new? Like maybe there's some people in here who can spend $1,000 on hardware, have a stable internet connection, maybe have 1, 2, 4 ETH, right? Not 32. Originally Rocket Pool mini pools got people excited. Stakewise vaults, squad staking is new. CSM is on testnet. Would love to hear from any of you guys about those or any others. What are some opportunities that people should know about where they can become net new operators on Ethereum?
I'm actually quite excited about the upcoming EIP 7152 max effective value because it sort of brings in what happens with this extra ETH that we have on top, right? Like all of a sudden you get consolidation, you get validators with up to 2048 ETH. It's like this is a one chunky validator, and that at the beginning I thought, whoa, that's kind of dangerous for solo stakers. Like, how can they compete? And well, actually they can, because they can compete with 32 ETH because it's the reward rate or the probability of you being a lot will be decided by the amount of ETH that you have. So you'll still have the same amount of probability, you'll still have the same percentage of the network, and therefore the same percentage of probability to get it. But what's more important here is that all these chunky validators, you need to think about them as a lot more critical. Like having off time on a chunky validator it's kind of dangerous. It's a lot more dangerous than having off time with a 32 ETH validator. So here the opportunities are very simple. Once this consolidation comes, I call it the great consolidation. And we're gonna lose like a bunch of validators. We're gonna lose a lot of validators. There's gonna be a lot of consolidation. There's many solo stakers as well that are running enough validators to consolidate substantially as well. There's a lot with one, there's a lot with two, but with two you can start consolidating as well. So we're gonna see a big reduction, and we're gonna see a lot of people that want to have some sort of higher assurance that this validator will keep running. And I think it's a great moment that's planned for Q1 2025, according to a core developer. Don't quote me on this, they will probably fuck it up and be later, but yeah, so very excited about this because all of these ways, now they open the door to a lot more systems that if I have 500 validators, now I'm going to spread them around in different places. But if I have one validator that's really chunky, well, first of all, I could not consolidate. I could consolidate in 4 and still keep them in 4 different places instead of consolidating all of them in one machine. But I might start looking for ways to bring these 4 places, thanks to DBT, and have them and have a lot more resilience. I have the resilience that a chunky validator requires. So I'm quite excited about this. I think that's going to bring a lot of new coordination. Like, I am there for it. I am there to create some sort of coordination to be able to enable people to coordinate around this, to be able to participate in the running. We have Chewy over there. There's nobody in the DBT space that doesn't know about Chewy. If you have a problem with Obol, if you have a problem with SSV, if you have a problem with the Lido simple DBT, with Lido, just talk to Chewy. He'll teach you how to run it on Dappnode. But we're pioneering in this because we really believe in this. We really believe in the power of coordination of people running huge validators. And one validator on DBT, so the economics of it don't work very well. If you have a validator that's not yours and you get one validator on a DBT setup, your reward is tiny. The ETH is not yours, so you only get a 10%. And then you split this 10% or less, 7% in case of a simple DBT, and then you split this among all of the DBT members. That changes completely with chunky validators after the great consolidation. I'm really excited for this moment, and I'm here to enable the coordination layer that will make that possible.
If I can add to this, so I think consolidation in general, like the changes to max effective balance, are overall good, especially for the state of the networking layer. However, I am less optimistic about how many people will consolidate. And actually, I expected and like hope to see the independent staking community in Ethereum to ask for better incentives, at least like when new upgrades of the store come out, to enfranchise smaller operators to opt into like what is the desired outcome. So like this, like Lanski said, basically this upgrade to Ethereum will allow you to consolidate validators or run validators with a larger maximum than 32 ETH. However, due to the rate of compounding, like how rewards actually work on the consensus layer, due to the ticks basically that are required for the effective balance of a validator to have your actual balance increased and then therefore receive rewards on this increased balance, you need to be running over like 10 to 12 validators to act for that rate of compounding to be better than running these validators separately. The second thing is that there's no custom ceilings. So you can only consolidate to create a chunky validator of 2048 ETH. This removes partial rewards. If you ever want to like get some rewards out, you're going to need to do a partial withdrawal from the execution layer and you're going to need to pay for it. And that's going in the same lane as normal withdrawals as well. So staking protocols are going to be issuing partial withdrawals and full withdrawals in order to make liquid staking token redemptions possible. And you're going to have to be competing with them on gas to get the little bit of rewards that you used to get for free from the consensus layer because of the way that this upgrade has been written. So when we talk about like how do the changes that the Ethereum core devs are making to like enact better things for the network, there's a lot of room here, especially once you dive into like the deep technicals of these EIPs, to improve not only the quality of life of independent stakers, but also their financial sustainability. And I wish there was like more kind of, I don't know, challenging of these EIPs to get better terms for solo stakers in there. Because right now, like it only makes sense to consolidate if you're running like hundreds of validators.
Is that really true though? Like when I looked into it, and I admit that was a few months ago, you were able to set the max that you wanted.
It's been taken out.
It's been taken out?
Yep. So there was like breakout rooms from the ACD calls, and there was a question of who wants custom ceilings, and Lido said it would be nice for us to have. Nobody else said anything, and then it was taken out.
I need to start hopping on this fucking call.
Welcome to Ethereum governance, everybody.
Send me the invite, Izzy.
So I wonder if there's a poly market on that, because I think that a reasonable percentage of the validators may want to migrate, just given the tax situation, right? Because that does modify the tax situation.
How do you mean?
I believe.
That like you're not receiving rewards, and then therefore that's not income.
Correct.
Okay. It's possible, although I think most people that like care about it at that level are probably either like wrapping the validator, shoving the rewards in some sort of contract where like it locks the funds. There's a lot of things that you can do where you don't need to change the consensus layer to do that.
Fair. Are we aligned as an industry of chunky validator? Because I'm kind of bullish on this name, but I haven't heard it until now.
No, although I prefer chunky with an O.
Okay. So we'll probably wrap it up here. If you guys had any closing statements, any hot takes, anything you want to say, feel free to sound crazy.
I've kind of been on the distributed validator journey ever since I got drunk with Oshin at a bar in Lisbon. He, I don't know where he is right now, probably coding somewhere.
Drunk at the bar.
Drunk at the bar already. I think, like the most important thing to me, like one of the reasons why I'm very active in Ethereum staking is what I talked about earlier. Like how do we enfranchise more people to run more nodes on probably the most important financial layer of our futures. Distributed validators is a huge unlock with regards to this. I can't wait to see how it develops, and the fact that it's, especially like Obol's approach, where it's like you can plug it into whatever you want. Like you can run simple DBT with it, you can run CSM with it, you can run your home validators with it, you can run it with your friends, you can run it with other professional organizations. We need more of that kind of innovation in Ethereum, thanks to Obol.
I wasn't gonna shill, but thank you. You guys have been holding it down the whole time.
I got a hat, so I'm here for it.
Yeah, speaking of show, I feel we got a bit sidetracked towards the end there, but opportunities for new stakers, anyone interested in being an independent node operator, definitely check out the CSM. I think it's on testnet now, it's going live shortly.
So it's live, but currently it's early access, meaning that if you're on one of the verified solo staker lists, including the list that you guys made, you had access to it. On Thursday, it'll be open to anybody. So if you go to csm.testnet.fi, you can join StakeCat and other independent operators to run independent validators with Lido on testnet, hopefully mainnet in October.
I think that one of the differences, well, the main difference between the panel that we had before, institutional, and this panel, is that people that were on the institutional panel are here for two reasons. Either because it matters to their work or it matters to their bags. And the people that are in this, they're here because it matters to them, personally. Like, this is what you can do. There's nothing you can do on the institutional. You can just give them your money and they take care of it. And that makes the price, they have a lot more influence on whether the price goes up, the price goes down. But this matters to you. And I think this is the panel where you get to decide whether you're going to take action or not. Decentralization is a spectrum where properties emerge out of it. People say that decentralization, there was an early discussion on if decentralization was the aim on itself. I've long abandoned this notion. Decentralization is a spectrum and properties emerge out of it. And it's extremely important if we want to have the most important financial layer to be completely decentralized and with lots of resilience properties that come out of it, that we take action. And you can do that by running a node. If you don't know how to do it, you can use Dappnode. It's extremely easy to do it. If you know how to do it, you can also use Dappnode, and you'll have like a much deeper understanding of what's happening behind the scenes, and you'll appreciate the beauty of it and how easy it becomes. And if you, then there's another thing, that once you have your node, once you have your Dappnode, there's this thing called economies of scope. It doesn't mean that you have to get stuck with your validator. Then you can validate on other chains, you can put Swarm on top, you can have like, having this machine, having something that you own is your beginning to your self-sovereignty journey. And it's extremely important that you help centralize all of the networks that you think they are important, because it's at the moment where we let go and we let the institutions take over that regulatory capture comes and fucks the party for everyone.
Shut me off. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.